Hi, I'm Robert Nakagawa. I'm the Scout Executive for the Delmarva Council of Boy Scouts of America. I'd love to give you an update on what we're doing for the Boy Scouts. It's the 2023 and we've had a phenomenal year so far. We've increased our membership by 10.3%. We're safer than we've ever been as an organization, taking care of our young men and young women in the program. It's an exciting time for us as an organization. Young women have been able to be a part of our traditional scouting programs, our Boy Scout program and our Cub Scout program since 2019. We've had some of our first young female Eagle Scouts since then, and we serve 10%, about 400 something young women are participating in our scouting programs right now across the council. And it's a really exciting time because families can participate in scouting together. Like myself, I have 3 young girls and 1 son, and we get to do scouting as a family. And it's really changed the dynamic. Our young ladies can now earn the rank of Eagle Scout, like myself and our special guest today. So it's a really exciting time to be a part of scouting. We've never been safer. The adventures are the same. We're getting out to the outdoors, and our young men and young women are learning the values of the Scout Oath and Scout Law to make ethical choices over their lifetime. And so here with me today is Chris Eccleston, the president of Delmarva Veteran Builders. He's a product of our program, a great Eagle Scout. He gives back a lot to the community. He's been on our executive board, and we're here recognizing him as the distinguished citizen for the Lower Eastern Shore for the Boy Scouts of America. And Chris, how are things going?
Things are going well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the introduction and the nice words. So business is great. We are having probably one of the best years we've had, and it's just been exciting. My son is also in the Cub Scouts now, so I'm now an adult leader on the Cub Scout side, so this has come full circle for me. I want to give a shout out to my son's pack, Asbury, Pack 151. It's been a great time, and he's moving into the Bear group this year.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know, for anybody that's watching this, if you have children and you want to get involved in our scouting program, go to bascout.org and you can type in your zip code. Even if you're not in the Delmarva Council, you type in your zip code and you'll find a Cub Scout pack or a Boy Scout troop in your neighborhood. That's fantastic. So what kind of activities have you been able to do with your son so far?
Well, we've been to summer camp a few times as a pack, and then we've done camping and fishing. We've done some outdoor activities, but getting involved in the community and seeing the other sides of the community has been rewarding for me. To see it through a child's eye is even more special, and then starting to learn about how community comes together and work and the different roles people play to serve their community has been very special as well.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing the scouting program with your son. Some of the things that I like to do when I get out, obviously I do a lot of activities with my kids through scouting, the whitewater rafting, rock climbing, zip lining, lots of fun, lots of memories. But that's really what it's about, though. I mean, you probably have some memories of doing scouting with your family or your dad. And it's about creating those memories. You know, we can have our children play in sports, but very seldom are you the coach or you're actually out there doing these things with your child. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think some of my memories from scouting are kind of you create this patrol. Like this is so you have this camaraderie amongst your group. I remember one time, and some of the hard lessons that I learned about being prepared, which is the scout motto is we were messing around on a canoe trip, and we got way behind our troop, and then we thought we would jump in the river and not be able to flip our canoes. Anyway, we ended up swamping the entire canoe. All our clothes and everything got wet. We had to be towed in by a boat. A boater saved us down the river, and we showed up late. We couldn't get our canoe flipped back over. So I remember spending that entire weekend cold, wet, never could get dry. So those memories, they create moments in time, and they just prepare you for life, not so much in the scouting aspect, but and everything else later. So
There's so many things that we do in scouting, and even for the adult leaders, they allow us as scouts to fail in a safe environment, and we learn. I mean, those are some of the most valuable lessons, though, that we learn is when things don't go right, and you have to overcome. I mean, we're going to get through it,
sure,
right? But if we weren't scouts, like you don't get presented with those same opportunities to overcome. I mean, some of those hardest campouts for me are the most memorable ones that we did.
Yeah, and I would equate it to like school or college. You know, you have the teacher that was always the toughest, and that's the one you remember throughout your life. And that's because they saw something in you and they wanted you to push you a little bit harder, or that coach in sporting. But Scouts is just like that. I mean, it's the character trait of resiliency is something that I learned in scouting from early all the way till Eagle Scout, and just overcoming obstacles continuously. That's something that you have to learn through experience. So
bring up Eagle Scout. We're both Eagle Scouts. My Eagle Scout project was taking care of a daycare center. The paint was literally falling off the walls. So we went in and basically sanded all the walls, repainted them, refinished to provide a safe environment so kids aren't eating paint chips, among other things. But it was a great experience for me to provide that leadership for my troop and relatives to oversee and complete this project. What was your Eagle Scout project?
So I did a fishing derby for the Big Brothers Big Sisters, and to speak of resiliency, my first attempt to go before the council and the Eagle Scout representative and the troop committee, I was actually rejected. And I hadn't planned it well enough. I hadn't communicated the details of exactly what I wanted to do. So I don't know, I think I was 16 or 17 years old to have the courage, I guess, really. Like, I was pretty defeated. I had to really look at myself in the mirror and get a push from my parents. But to go back and overcome that with that group of people, that was pretty intimidating. But that's been a very valuable life lesson for me that's applied in the military and then in business as well. But so we did a fishing derby. We had, I don't know, 30 to 40 kids, and we had the Big Brothers and a fishing derby in the city park. We had the Maryland DNR show up, and they did a thing on water safety. We had the zoo show up, and they did a thing on like reptiles and amphibious animals, kind of some conservation type stuff, and teaching all that thing. And it was a round robin. And then I had to go raise money to get all the equipment, the fishing rods and prizes and all that kind of stuff donated, and coordinate all the volunteers. So I guess event management, project management from an early age is kind of what that taught me. And so it was a great time. I think the Big Brothers, so this would have been 98, 97, 99 time frame. I think they did it for 3 or 4 years after that. And I kind of wanted to see it extend, but so it was a great experience. I learned a lot. I had coordinated a lot. So
you bring up project management. So obviously, as a owner of a construction company, I mean, I've got to believe scouting has helped you to be successful. I mean, military, the service to the community, and you give back an awful lot. I mean, we scouts do a lot of community service. You're living it. You're a fine role model of what scouting represents as far as being an Eagle Scout, giving back to the community. You talked about how you learned project management. What other things do you feel scouting might have helped you to do to become successful in who you are today?
Well, thank you for saying those nice words. I think scouting for me really taught me to be involved in the community, the 3 merit badges community. I'm going to get citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, and citizenship in the world is really kind of that ingrained that service mentality, and then wearing the uniform, being a part of something larger than yourself, serving others. I think those are ideals that scouting taught me. I really latched on to. As far as like other just life skills, leadership, you hear a lot, integrity, honor, those things that all translate really nicely to the military, but they're good ideals to live for in life. And then just like simple things on how to tie a fishing lure, or knots that you remember how to do, life-saving skills, first aid. I mean, I've just things that, it's like riding a bike, right? You show up, you're in an example, just one popping in my head right now. My daughter, she got her finger caught on the boat one time in the anchor locker, and this was when she was, I don't know, 6 or 8 months old, and it really scared me, right? And there's blood, and we had another family on the boat, but then I just, with after 10 seconds or 15 seconds of kind of freaking out, then my first aid experience and life-saving experience that I did as a camp counselor in the Scouts, and those merit badges, they just kicked in, and I knew exactly what to do and handled the situation. So I mean, those things just come up in life for you, and it's like scouting.
Yeah, Scout. So, it's amazing. We learn so many things, especially as an Eagle Scout. There's certain required merit badges that we have to take: personal management, physical fitness, the citizenships, camping, first aid. But you just never know when those things are going to come up that you need to act on them. And we've got, and just recently in Ohio, the train derailment where 2 troops mobilized and helped extract people out of the train. And it's just what we do, right? I mean, that's just ingrained in the Boy Scout DNA. We get a lot of practice. We go through drills. Hopefully it never happens. Right. But I mean, I've also had to do CPR and things like that. And it's you always want a Boy Scout in your area to help in those circumstances. And we just don't have enough of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's I can't speak enough about it. It's one of those things that teaches character. I mean, even in our business now, one of the 3, I call it the 3 C's that we do when we hire: character, competency, and capability. And if you have the first 2, character and competency, we can help you achieve your capability and work on that. But character speaks, that's something that's a trait that's never going to go away, even in the world of where we're moving to social media and that kind of realm. So character counts. I think that was actually a slogan or a theme back when I was in the Scouts. But those idealistic things that just are ingrained into children at a young age, and even adults. I mean, we can all stand to learn a lot from the Scouts and the actions that they do and model for our community, our local communities.
Talk a lot about, workforce development is the buzz right now, because there's just not enough employees out in the community, and I'm sure you're struggling with it. I'm struggling with it as well with regards to the staffing, and going to all these places. And Boy Scouts of America, I mean, we have all these merit badges, like 130 merit badges that apply. Construction, woodworking, plumbing, electrical, and all trades that you benefit from your employees. But I mean, even welding today, that we didn't have welding when you and I were Scouts, but the soft skills that our Scouts learn, like you talked about the character aspect, like that's the thing like every employer wants without it really being on the resume, right? Nobody wants to hire somebody that's not trustworthy, loyal, friendly, courteous. They're going to represent your company because their customer service skills, because they know how to be friendly and kind, and just having that character. And that's something that, yes, you and I, we learned we could save a life. We know how to go camping. We survive out in the wild. And that's what Scouts are known for. Yeah. But really, those are kind of the byproducts of what we as an organization really stand for. Our mission is to really instill the values of the Scout Oath and Law to help children make ethical choices over their lifetime, right? And I bet you probably haven't, you're involved in scouting now, so I know you're saying it with your child, with your son, but for the others that don't know it, our Scout Oath is, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to help other people at all times. Keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And to know the Scout Law, which is also to obey the Scout Law. The Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And our Scouts, before coming up for rank advancement, they sit in a board review and a Scoutmaster conference, and they're, So Chris, tell me, how have you lived being trustworthy in the last 3 months? And it gets ingrained in us as a positive behavior trait, all 12 of those things, which, as we talk about, it's kind of the soft skill that we want, not just of our employees, but we want everybody to live by those values.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is soft skills, and from a workforce development standpoint, I mean, that's interviewing, learning how to interview in your adolescent, and how to present to a group of people at an early age. And these are all skills that you're going to need in sales, in management, in whatever kind of job you're doing. And I think the other piece too, I talk a lot about it too from the veteran aspect. Our military is a volunteer organization, right? So that creates this service-minded mentality right off the bat. And from an employer perspective, you look at that and you say, okay, well, they're volunteering to serve. They want to do this. So from a customer service standpoint, you already have that mindset. And I think scouting is the same thing. It's a volunteer-based organization. And the whole point of scouting is learning to serve others besides yourself, which again, our communities can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
And then being able to take those kinds of things and then use them to customer service, or being on a team, being part of a unit, all those kinds of things. I think employers would do well to recognize that. I mean, I know personally, anytime I see Eagle Scout on the resume, they always get a phone call, because I know immediately what type of person that is.
Yeah. And same likewise. I mean, yes, we are the Boy Scouts of America. We just hired 2 great individuals, and quite honestly, what really got us to interview them was also the fact that they had Eagle Scout on their application. I mean, we have non-Eagle Scouts as well,
right.
But having that Eagle Scout on the resume, it gets our attention. That's our organization.
Sure.
But even as you mentioned yourself, as an organization, we hear from universities and so many other employers, having that Eagle Scout, it means something, because you and I know what it took to become an Eagle Scout. But it also means that we understand and live by the values of the Scout Oath and Law, which, you talk about helping other people, and that's one of the 3 points of our Scout Oath, is to help other people at all times. That's a big call. I mean, I'm not able to fulfill that all the time, right? Late for a meeting, somebody's got a flat tire, you're not pulling over to help them at all times.
Sure.
But it's the goal, it's what we strive for.
It's an aspirational statement to live for, yeah. And I still have it on my desk, once an Eagle, always an Eagle, right? So I still am an Eagle Scout, and I still try to live those values and through my life and business and in the community. So
it's been a fun ride, and it's so much more than a program. It's a lifestyle, especially if you've done it for a while. I know you and I both have served on camp staff on 50th State in the first, Maryland.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure which state it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know Delaware was the first, but I'm not sure Maryland. But the case being, we're both very comfortable talking, and that's an important skill for us as leaders. But I look back at my time in serving on camp staff as having to teach merit badges, getting audited by Scoutmasters, and teaching our peers as a practiced skill for us to develop public speaking. Because I mean, we had a lot of practice as camp counselors, leading campfires and teaching merit badges to get up in front of our peers.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've done, is work at Henson Scout Reservation for 4 or 5 years, summers. And anytime, a leadership perspective, anytime you teach, you always learn more than actually learning. So teaching teaches you more. But yeah, from an early age, I mean, even as a CIT, which is counselor in training, those summers where you're working for free because you want to be there, but you're there all summer. And so what that does from an individual perspective, I mean, again, going back to the soft skills, you are learning public speaking, you're teaching, but you got to keep your tent clean, you got to do your own laundry.
Waking up early, going to bed late.
Right.
I mean, the demands are high.
Correct. So you're learning all of that as a teenager all summer long, and you're interacting with your peer group that some is a little bit older. And yeah, it was just I still have friends to this day that I was on camp staff with. So yeah, it's been great, and we had a lot of fun. We would get in a lot of trouble, but it's all in a controlled, environment where you're on camp staff, so it's regulated, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's same for me, and that's the thing. Telling my camp staff today, it's unique to each camp, right? That camp has its own camp spirit, and the culture, and the relationships there is what brings our staff back every year. It's not the pay. We don't get rich working at camp staff, that's for sure. But the camaraderie, the development, and just the esprit de corps of working together with all these other scouts, the values of Scout Oath and Law can't help but rub off on you, and just doing it almost literally 24/7 at a time.
Yeah, and I think of the variety of things you're just learning there. So I was a commissioner and scoutcraft instructor, so cooking, camping, wilderness survival, those were all the things that I taught, but all the other things that I would be involved in, from setting up the camp and getting it ready, and then breaking down camp at the end of the summer. You're really learning kind of how to run a camp.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're watching and being involved in all the different things, so that's could be a project-based type of thing. If you look later in life to workforce development, I mean, that running a business, running a project, interacting with a team, all those kinds of things. So, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, that's, you have scouting, and then those of us that serve on camp staff is a whole nother level of scouting, just like going to a jamboree or one of those other high-level experiences. So we probably got a lot more out of it than some that weren't on camp staff.
For sure.
But it's just great time. The more you put into anything, the more you get out of it. And
yeah, and I can say with certainty, scouting has given me way more than I put in. I mean, I was the poster child when I was in. I mean, I loved wearing that uniform, getting my merit badges. I remembered coming home, dancing the first time I got a badge in my living room because I was so excited. But, from all of that to camp counselor to I think I spoke a few times at business events as an Eagle Scout and what scouting meant to me. I did go to the National Jamboree. I met President Clinton at the Jamboree. I mean, scouting has just given me so many opportunities and skills, and that's, I think, a big testament to why in the military and then in business that our company has been successful.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for what you do for the community, what you do as the president for your company, and how much your company also gives back to the community, both financially and in service, which is why we're recognizing you. I mean, you just embody what scouting is about, and so happy to be able to recognize you as our distinguished citizen this year for the Lower Eastern Shore. So it's just great, and it's just full circle to be able to recognize one of our own products of the program that grew up in this community and everything else. So
yeah. It's humbling, and I do know, working with Shayna, your staff has been great, and it's been awesome to get a committee together and work on this, and then now to be involved in giving back to the future of the organization means a lot to me. So it's exciting, and we'll have a good time when we do it. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, and again, this is such a great opportunity. This is a great event, so please come on out, help us recognize Chris for the work that he does now, and that's why we're recognizing him. But it also helps raise critical dollars that we're able to deliver and grow this program. We have aggressive goals of getting back to 10,000 scouts, and then beyond that the next goal is to get to 20,000 scouts. But we believe we can do it, especially now that we're able to serve families. I'm excited. My daughter is 17. That's not so exciting. The exciting part is that she's on the cusp of earning her Eagle Scout as well.
That's awesome.
And so for my family, she'll be that second generation.
Yeah.
And then hopefully my son and my two other daughters can also follow and earn their Eagle Scouts. But like every other parent out there that is involved in scouting that wants their child to get their Eagle Scout, I'm pulling my hair out as well. It's like, you're 17.
Yeah.
And got to get it done. But Chris, thank you so much for joining me today and for being our distinguished citizen for the Lower Eastern Shore, and the example you set for myself, the organization, and the community with what you're doing with Delmarva Veteran Builders.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, and I appreciate you recognizing me. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to honoring and recognizing Chris, and we hope you will join us on September 14th. And you can find us at delmarvacouncil.org/Lower Shore.